gummy bear.
It's the internet, you're busy, let's do this. And of course my camera is already messed up, but who cares about that? That doesn't matter. I don't care about that anymore. I don't care about anything anymore. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Chris Pratt threatens to sing the forbidden tones that shall awaken the old gods in the Mario movie, and FromSoft is hiring. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host for Game Mess Mornings. It's Tamoor Hussein, everybody. Woo.
It's me. I'm here. I'm ready to talk about the news. Because, I love the news.
Sam, we needed you today. And I'm glad.
And I am here.
I'm glad that you're here to help us. I'll tell you. So, I want to keep a light tone on these shows, but today the world is on fire, and I don't know. What do I do? What do I do here? I just kind of feel like, hey, it's awful, and I'll tell you what I've been doing in my life. I have begun turtling, I think is the concept, where I look outside the world and I see no help coming for any of the problems in the world. And so I've begun only looking toward areas of my life where I do get help. So, my immediate family, we bought this house. We're trying to let's just build a little conclave for us to be happy in. And then I've been building up communities. And this audience here, that's my big problem. It feels like no one wants to take care of each other except for when I do stuff like this. And I found people here that want to take care of each other. And that's what's important for me. I know. How do you deal with it?
I have a rule where whenever I'm on Twitter, I try not to fight with people. But today is one of those days that really tests that rule. My rule is I have a mnemonic or rhyme, I guess, that I tell everybody. I tell them to live their life by it because it helps. And it is see the drama, don't be the drama.
Right.
And I'm great at seeing the drama and not being the drama. But today's one of those days where I'm like, oh, these motherfuckers are testing me. I might be the drama. And sometimes I've voiced my opinion on what's going on, which is that it's disgusting and I can't believe it. And motherfuckers with American flags in their bios talk about laid off due to COVID are in my ass talking about maybe you should leave. And here's the thing, maybe you should leave forever.
Maybe you should leave.
And I'm trying to find a better, more positive way to channel my energy,
right?
Instead of fighting anyone on Twitter, and I do that by, taking care of my people.
Yes.
And so I'm just keeping an eye on everyone at GameSpot, everyone at Giant Bomb as best as I can, and letting them know that today's a day where they can forget about work and go and do something else instead. Yep. So the way I get through it is by just making sure that my people are okay.
Yeah. It's a kind of thing where I'm looking around and I'm like, there is no solution here that we can turn to. So what can you do other than just try to be there for each other? I'll just say, obviously women's healthcare is just healthcare, and it is a shame and completely baffling to me that we are back here. But it also feels like sort of what we deserve for not being more vigilant about what could have happened. But by not taking care of what we needed to take care of in the past.
With every passing day, the phrase "land of the free, home of the brave" becomes less of a certainty, and you should think about that.
Yep.
Yeah, and people should think about that closely because patriotism is massive in this country, and I would say, do you think that patriotism is earned? Really think about it, because you have women and people of color and people who are discriminated against constantly just being shat on by everyone in this country, and it's just like, ooh, I don't know, man. I wouldn't be calling using that phrase to describe this country anymore.
It makes me very angry, and I just want to say, people, don't give in to the hatred you're probably feeling, which is what I feel. Let's try to just put another foot in front of the other for now. I know that can be very difficult,
for sure.
but let's do what we can and hopefully we get a better day in the future again.
Look after your people.
And honestly, it really is the best thing you could do, because it makes you feel like you're accomplishing something. Look after your others. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Before we get into the news and the mess, let's explain ourselves. Each day, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news, the catch-up, where we discuss the biggest topics of the day, and maybe even some of our own original reporting from GameSpot, from me, wherever. For all these topics, I'll get input from a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. And if you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You could also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. If you are watching on there, please be sure to hit that like button. Okay, we got a lot to get into. Let's start the morning mess. All right, so I put this news story at the top, Tam, for you because I wanted your input. A new interview with FromSoftware's Hidetaka Miyazaki is live. I got these tidbits from Nibel on Twitter, and then I'll see what you have to say. An unannounced project is in the final stages of development. Miyazaki intends to continue to focus on directing games and is already working on his next game. Elden Ring will receive more updates. Another interesting tidbit is that Miyazaki is apparently interested in working on something that he describes as more abstract fantasy than the projects we've seen from From so far, and how he has come up with a lot of ideas and images that don't fit with their current games. Miyazaki also notes that From Software is working on improving the compensation and treatment of its employees, and that they plan to increase the salaries of young to mid-career employees as well. He claims that the working environment has improved greatly in recent years. So I'll say, as someone who adores Sekiro and adores Elden Ring and is trying to find other ways to get into the other FromSoft games, a lot of what I'm reading here is very exciting to me. How are you feeling?
Yeah, massively exciting. Obviously, the big thing that people are going to focus in on is the unannounced project in the final stages of development. We know they're working on Armored Core, but obviously that's been announced. That's something that we all know about is coming. So don't think that counts as the unannounced project in the final stages of development. So what could that game be? I don't know. It's interesting. I want to go towards something Sekiro related.
Okay.
I wouldn't say with any sort of certainty that it is something Sekiro related. I just remember how Sekiro kind of came out of nowhere, if you remember correctly. Like, there was a little bit of hubbub around it where they there were some whispers around them making something new, but then it just appeared, and it was at Game Awards, I think it was, and then vanished and then returned and was basically out. And I do wonder sometimes if they could take a similar approach to something new or even something more in that world.
Well, I mean, the complete opposite was the Elden Ring approach, right? Where it was announced way ahead of time, and it was literally years of people just dying for any new information. And I don't know what kind of effect that can have on any particular development studio, but I wonder if they didn't love that pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I would 100% think that they don't like that pressure, and then on top of that, they have to contend with leaks and things like that once it's available. Like, I know the Elden Ring leak that happened, where that was like a major thing for them. It was devastating for them, and they really tightened up ship and were not pleased about that at all. Obviously, Sekiro or something big is what we want, but they have done smaller drops before. Remember, they made Derasane, which was the VR game for, I think it was PlayStation VR anyway. So they have the capacity to make smaller, unexpected experiences, and I don't think they would describe that as a VR tech demo or anything like that. They would just describe it as a new project. So it could be that, they are in the final stages of development on something that is like a VR project or a smaller title, almost like a smaller budget, smaller experience for it could even be like something, I'm not saying it would be like equivalent of like a mobile game, I'm excited to see what it is. Obviously, I hope it's something big and grand, not on Elden Ring size, but I feel like we now have to rescale the kind of projects that we think they're capable of, because they made a certain type of game, and it was the Dark Souls, Bloodborne style games, and then they made Elden Ring, which was like, oh, these guys can make massive open worlds. So now we have to think about what does a unannounced project? What are they when they say unannounced project? What kind of experience are we talking about? And it could be very well be something closer to like a Dark Souls, but then also it could also be something way smaller, like a Durasane.
Yeah, like that makes me think: is there a possibility that this is, and maybe the terminology prohibits this from being a possibility, but you tell me, could this be a Bloodborne sort of Ultimate Edition that they would consider to be an unannounced new project, but is also something that they could do relatively quickly, and that they were probably waiting for Elden Ring to sort of be out of the way so they could focus some of their attention on this, maybe bringing in another studio that could do some of the work while they are still working on Elden Ring alongside that. Does any of that register?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that, oh God, I think that would be the thing that most people would want out of them right now. I hope it is, because, and it also does, like, it is theory crafting, and it is a little bit of like my own hopes and dreams,
Sure.
but it does make sense. Like, developing a brand new game like a Sekiro, or something like it on the scale of a Souls, feels quite rough to do it at the same time as making an Armored Core game and Elden Ring. Team wise, From Software isn't massive still. Like on the scale of a Western developer, like I don't know, an Activision studio, Call of Duty outfit. Like they're not capable of churning out multiple games in the same way that a bunch of EA studios or a bunch of Activision studios could. They're still quite limited. So I feel like if they have a team working on Elden Ring for a while, and then they have a team working on Armored Core for a while, a smaller group of people working on, they would be available to work on something like an update of Bloodborne, or you know, who knows, a DLC for Sekiro or something like that. I would love for it to be, and I hope it is the Bloodborne stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that they, if they feel like a studio where they would want to, if they did it, they would want to go back and really like tighten the screws and fix some things on stuff that they know that isn't the best. Like, I would love to see them kind of update Bloodborne in the way that we want, you know, their performance stuff, but maybe take another pass at Chalice Dungeons and like figure out something about around that could be interesting. Like the Chalice Dungeons are interesting, but like they're also kind of weird in a lot of ways. And it feels like that's the one part of it that they kind of rushed out. And I would love to see them go back and be like, hey, this is what we originally intended for it.
Yeah, I could see it making a lot of sense where it's like this is a chance to sort of edit Bloodborne in some key ways, still make it feel like a brand new thing for a lot of people, and give people a reason to upgrade to the game on PS5. And so, yeah, it makes sense. And the thing my understanding was always like they always wanted to do more with Bloodborne, but like they own the keys to those doors to the development code, and they couldn't just hand it off to someone else in the middle of Elden Ring, and because they needed to be present to make sure that people could understand like what was going to do what, and or at least they were hesitant about letting someone else go in there and mess around with code when they weren't there. And so now that they've had more time, to me the timing works out where it's like, yeah, it could be in the later stages now that they've been able to focus on that. So I'm hopeful. This other tidbit about upcoming stuff: Miyazaki intends to continue to focus on directing games and is already working on his next game. What are you feeling about that?
Obviously over the moon. Like, as long as if the Miyazaki is working on stuff like that, gives me something that I definitely, a North Star to be excited about, you know, and that's he hasn't made a bad game yet, so why would I have anything but pure like elation at the idea of him working on something new? Yeah, I'm really excited for what he means by abstract fantasy. I don't know if that his next project is that, or if the abstract fantasy thing is something separate. It feels like it is something separate because he says I'm interested in working it. He wouldn't say that if he was actively working on that, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So I imagine we'll get something quite similar to what we have up until now. I'm really excited to see, and I think the thing that I've been doing is like, if you're a From Software fan, you know that the seeds of Miyazaki's next game are always planted in the game that he last released. Like, Bloodborne was the seed for that was planted in Dark Souls, and Sekiro was in Bloodborne, and the same goes for
Can I
like
ask
Elden
you,
Ring.
is it like explicit, or do you just like, are you seeing the connecting tissue, but it's more abstract, or is it something like literal
It's a
connection?
little bit of everything. Like, I mean, the one that everyone knows is Dark Souls had DLC where there was a character called Marvelous Chester who looked unlike anyone else in the Dark Souls universe. He was wearing Victorian garb. He looked
Okay.
like he had very strange vibes to him. He came from a far off land, and like the people were like, this guy seems very out of place here, and that was because he was the prototype for Bloodborne character.
That's cool.
And then like the fight between the DLC fight between the player character and Lady Maria of the Astral Clock Tower is the prototype for a Sekiro 1v1 battle.
Mm.
And you could, when you play that battle in hindsight, you can feel, oh, this is, they are figuring out Sekiro here in this fight,
Mm.
because it's a lot of the similar like pacing, similar requirements of you, and it's really, really cool to see that happen. And I've just been digging around in Elden Ring trying to figure
Right.
out what it is, where they're going next. And there's a few things. I think there's a boss fight at the very end of the game against the character that plays out unlike anything else they've done in the other games, and I feel like it could be. I don't know if if we're allowed to talk spoilers yet, but
Mm. Try to
maybe
figure out
block your
figure out like a way of
yeah,
doing it that seems like fair, but
block
go
your
for it.
ears if you haven't finished it. But for like, let's say a minute or so, and I'll explain that, and then you can come back. So the one of the climactic, the second to last fight is Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, aka Horror Lu, and he behaves in a way that no other From Software boss does. He's very melee focused. He
Hmm.
plays like Zangief. The first thing
Right.
he does is
Yeah.
like he grabs you and like he launches you into the air, and he jumps into the air, and he fights like he's a fighting game character, which is
Hmm.
like very strange. Like, obviously From Software are always like sword and board based stuff. Like, they have a very specific type of interaction between character model player and boss character, and there's kind of like the way the hitboxes collide. This feels very, very strange to me in a way that it feels very melee focused. And I'm like, I'm very, very, very convinced that their next game is going to have some sort of like up close melee
Right.
focus style thing where, like, I've never seen them like launch up the player character into the air like that, and then have someone follow you up and then bring you back down, and kind of like move into the sky in that kind of fashion. um so it's interesting. So I would love to see that. I wouldn't be surprised if the next game they have like a brawler class,
Hmm.
and like you're grabbing enemies and like launching them and like using melee attacks and that kind of stuff.
I
um
love that. That's yeah, that sounds fantastic. But I also just love the theory crafting that you are doing there, where it's like you're seeing the string and like that's insightful.
yeah,
I'll say when it comes to FromSoft, like it's a team that has had a string of hits. They are building up their talent. So this idea that they are very aware that they need to make sure they are increasing compensation and make their
yeah.
place more to work, a better place to work. I mean, no one likes it when all the old people leave and gets replaced by a whole group of new people. So they're trying to avoid that, right? So it's a good thing that they're recognizing this. And does this give you confidence that FromSoft is here to stay and going to be making these
Oh
games like
yeah,
this for a long time?
I think they're like I think the stuff around them figuring out like workplace environment, quality, compensation is a sign that they now know that they are a big deal and that they are here to stay. And it's kind of them going, oh, we're not just a bunch of weirdos making games anymore. We are a career option. We are a life option for people. It's that moment where they're becoming, without sounding in the worst way possible, but like they needed to have a moment where they realize that they are a corporation to a
Sure.
degree.
Yeah.
Not for the worst parts of it, but the parts of it, like they are aspirational. People will likely be out there being like, I want to make games for From Software,
Yes.
and they can't be just a group of homies being, or like group of lads just being like, hey, let's just make some video games. Let's get good. Let's do this. They have to be like, we got to look after these people because we're operating on a different scale now. So this is a good sign that they are now kind of figuring out how they exist long term, and two, they are figuring out how to make sure that the people that are making their games, the real talent of the studio, is being preserved and being looked after. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it's like they're establishing that the next gen, like it is young mid-career employees, like they are going to be building up talent themselves and like investing all that stuff in people. And then what's going to happen after that? Are those people going to want to leave to start their own things? Or are you going to create an environment that makes them want to make the FromSoft games? And I mean, the way you put it, like that is what makes like Nintendo continue to operate for so long, is that people grow up wanting to make Nintendo games in Japan, all around the world, but yeah, especially in Japan. And so they want to go work for Nintendo, and Nintendo hires the best of them, and they're able to keep that train moving. FromSoft has the potential to do the same thing. I think you're right.
Yeah, and also like especially with it's that small town situation, right? Where like sometimes you live in a small town, and the only life option is that big factory that makes cars. And like most people who grow up there, they unless they leave, they grow up knowing that I'm gonna end up working there.
Right.
Excuse me. And it's the similar thing like in Japan, where development studios, like once you get big enough and you become popular enough, that becomes the kind of like, again, like the North Star for people to be like, I want to work there. Nintendo, when it comes to like developing in Japan, like it's hard to look away from Nintendo and Sony and be like, I want to work for one of those studios, Namco, Bandai. There's big monolith studios that you're kind of always moving towards. And I think like From Software is now one of them, where it's like it can stand toe to toe, shoulder to shoulder with Nintendo to be like, I will make my life decisions in a way that will take me closer to being able to work there. And I think it shows a level of responsibility, hopefully, from the people who are in charge to recognize that and be like, we can't be as big as we are and make games that are acclaimed as much as they are, and continue to make the money that we do while and become this place where people want to work without doing these things to make sure that we're not like screwing them over. And I'm glad that they are doing that. And he says like it's improved greatly in recent years. It's worth like putting into context what's happened in recent years around From Software. They were acquired, like and they now operate, as part of Kadokawa Games. And also like Miyazaki became CEO, or is it CFO? One of those two. He took a senior executive position, as opposed to having someone else. So now a creator is in charge of the studio. And these kind of things where they take time to kind of roll over, and also the impact of having someone in that position like that takes time. So when he says it's starting to get better, or it's improved greatly, that is hopefully just the beginning of it. And hopefully we continue to move towards a situation where From is better about compensation, is better about treating their employees well. The other tricky thing is like there's, especially in Japan, like you're also fighting against company working culture, or like culture around working that is ingrained in Japan itself. We all deal with the idea of crunch, and that's something that the Western world is taking head on. Crunch is that kind of stuff, and like the weird work-life balance is in the fabric of working in Japan. And it's interesting, we're actually on GameSpot doing a kind of investigation into this a little bit currently, and it's fascinating, but it's also like that's a hard pill to swallow, and it's a hard thing to push back against. But hopefully, slowly but surely, we'll get there in Japan as well.
Yeah, and it's like it seems clear that FromSoft FromSoft has been around for a very long time now, but it's like at a certain point, they become this like hit band, right? And they can look at their future and be like, are we going to continue to be this hit band where there is a superstar front man that's out there on stage singing, or are we going to be a sports franchise that is capable of eventually like building up over time? And it's like those are the two paths that you could take if you're like an outfit like that. And I think they are slowly in the process of being like, we want to be a long-term like winning sports franchise, and we want to have this superstar player and Miyazaki out front for a very long time. But eventually we have to be looking at a future where maybe that doesn't happen. What can we do to maximize his talent and being able to invest in new talent that can learn from him, and the people that are inspired by him in the next generation, we want them to come work for us as well. And that comes down to us creating a place that is maybe growing in how we treat workers and employees in a way that has not been the way it traditionally works, in many cultures, but yes, but especially Japan.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move on. Subset Games announced Into the Breach Advanced Edition. Here are the details from the Twitter account. The new Advanced Edition free content update will be coming to all platforms, and a mobile version will be coming. It will be available through Netflix with a Netflix subscription. Both will be available on July 19th. The Advanced Edition features new squads, weapons, and pilots, as well as new enemies, bosses, and challenges. You can also get a physical edition from Fangamer for the Nintendo Switch. And that includes all the Advanced Edition content as well. Into the Breach is one of my favorite games, Sam. I'm very excited about this. I love any excuse to go back to this game. I suppose maybe the most, the more interesting thing here is like Netflix putting out the mobile version. Kind of seems like they're trying to do a Apple Arcade for all platforms. Is that what it seems like to you?
Oh yeah, it feels obviously this is weird. Like when Netflix first were like, we're getting into games, we were like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And they are starting to make smarter and smarter decisions around their entry points into games, as well as putting out their own games. I feel like they released Point P. Have you played Point P?
I've not, but we talked about Point P on one of the Bombcasts, so I'm like, okay, I want to check that out.
So that looks like that's their own thing, and that came from the Downwell kind of creator, which is very clever. Like that's a good like, and it's got that same kind of like I cannot put it down kind of a feel to it. And now they are looking at other this is like a surefire win, right? Like Into the Breach is an incredible game. And like now if they can, like, if their move is how do we move into gaming, we'll take this game that we know is a dead certain amazing game and we can bring it to new people, a new platform with Netflix's logo next to it. That's massive mind share. I think that's a really, really smart thing that they're doing. I'm surprised to see Subset bringing more content to Into the Breach all this time later. They were very quiet on it, but like I'm elated. That game is just incredible. Like I haven't got that obsessed with that kind of game since Advance Wars, and like it's been a while. So I'm very, very excited that they're bringing it new content to it as Advanced Edition. 2, very excited that it's free. Free content update, and then I'm excited that it's out extremely soon, July, and the fact that it's going to be available on mobile is just like a massive cherry on top of this.
Right, it's one of those games where I was like, I played it on Steam, and then I played it again on Switch, and got obsessed with it both times. And I will absolutely hit that tab on the Netflix app to open up the games and get it there as well. And I don't know how much I'll end up playing it on my phone, because I always get that anxiety about phones or games on my phone where it's like, this is using my battery. But I still like having the option. And even so, just this content going to be everywhere for free. I'm going to be checking in on this. Oh,
Jeff, you need to do what I done. I have a separate game phone.
I listen, I've considered
main phone,
this.
Game phone.
This, yes, because I could just tether the game phone to the real phone, right? And so it's like, it's all good.
Yeah. I keep this. This is my like entertainment phone.
Okay.
So when I got a new phone, I kept my old, mainly because it's got like a really busted like. I dropped it once and it like really fucked up. So I was like, I'm not trading this in. I'm just gonna keep it. And people are gonna be like, he's got 2 phones. That's actually incorrect. I've got 3 phones. So I've got an Android phone as well.
You got the game phone. You got the entertainment phone and the porno phone, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just like keep this in my bag at all times, and I use a Bluetooth pair of headphones. So like I would play music off this, I listen to podcasts off this, I play games on this. That way my battery life is completely unaffected on this. Like I most days end my day with like 80% battery on my phone.
Now I associate having multiple phones with nefarious drug related stuff. You already have trouble going through airports. When they see the multiple phones, are they like, well, definitely there's something going on here?
You know what? All I say is those days are behind me. Okay, those days are behind me.
You've never done anything illegal in your entire life, is my understanding.
No. You can make any assumptions as you want about having 3 phones, but I can say right now I'm clean.
Egg on my face. All right. Chris Pratt declares his Mario voice is Unlike anything you've ever heard by David Walensky at GameSpot. Just a fantastic headline. All right, this is from David. Echoing similar remarks from a producer of the upcoming Super Mario movie made last fall, actor Chris Pratt, who will voice the titular plumber, said in a recent interview that his portrayal will be unlike anything you've ever heard. Speaking with Variety to promote his latest upcoming Amazon Prime Video series, The Terminal List, Pratt also touched briefly on the Nintendo film. I worked really closely with the directors on trying out a few things and landed on something that I'm really proud of and can't wait for people to see and hear, Pratt said. It's an animated voiceover narrative. It's not a live action movie. I'm not going to be wearing a plumber suit running all over. I'm providing a voice for an animated character, and it is updated and unlike anything you've heard in the Mario world before. Why does he say this, Tam? Tam, why is he saying this particular thing?
Here's the thing. There's a big mismatch or a misunderstanding. This is one of the things that people are going to have to figure out in PR and marketing when it's facing the movie world and the gaming world.
Yes.
That when you apply the standard PR marketing bullshit from the movie world to the video game world, it's really bad. It's like if he had said this about literally anything non-gaming related, it would have been absolutely fine.
Yep.
If this was like, Chris Pratt is doing a new take on the Iron Giant, like it would have been like mostly fine. People have been like, oh, we're not sure about this. This is going to be weird. He's doing it. They're applying the same strategy to a video game thing. And what they don't realize is video game fans are unhinged. Yeah. Like, just completely... They haven't thought about grass in ages.
Right. I think about Mario's voice all the time. And that's not normal. I should not be doing that. And then you're going to say this sentence to me. I'm going to be like, what could that I think I've thought about all the possible Mario voices. How dare you?
What they don't understand is there's some movie PR people being like, yeah, just tell them that it's going to be awesome and it's going to be great. and they were like, and he's like, yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. And they're like, you have no idea because we've been doing the Mario voice all our lives. Ask any gamer and they can do a 1-for-1 perfect Mario voice.
It's a me, Mario.
And that's the thing. It's me, Mario. Name Mario. A character. I can do Wario. I can do Waluigi. Mm-hmm. I can do Toad. I can do Bowser. And that's the thing. He's rolled up thinking, I'm just going to say this and then I will do a bog standard voice just like I did in the Lego movie and it will be absolutely fine. But it's not. People in chat are now asking me to do voices. Do Marcus Phoenix. Down in front! There you go.
Well done.
Who wants toast? I like it crispy. Remember that scene? I could do any video game voice. That's all I do.
Bayonetta.
Oh, no, I can't do... I can do Bayonetta, but it's a bit creepy.
Yeah, fair enough, right. That's we'll save that for the premium subscribers. Don't worry, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. People are like, I want toast. People don't remember. There's an Easter egg in Gears 2, I think it is, where there's just this like toaster in the middle of nowhere, and if you shoot it for a really long time, it like toasts some bread and it burns, and then it pops out, and then Marcus goes, "Who wants toast?" And then what's his name? Dom goes, "I like it crispy," and then Marcus goes, "I like it crispy on the outside." And then they just carry on with the fucking... I'm like, this is so weird. But that's my favorite Gears of War moment.
But that's you probably think about that moment very frequently. And then if someone were like, we're going to turn that toast scene into a movie, then you'd be like, I have opinions on this.
I think the voice is going to be just absolutely normal. It's just going to be... He's going to be slightly gruffer, and he'll just be like, "Hey, my name's Mario. This, that. I'm walking here.
Right.
Watch out for my..." Yeah, that kind of stuff. And like, people will be like, all right, fair enough. I think what's happened here is like a misunderstanding of how to PR and market to video game fans. And that's what's happened here, and people are losing their mind because of it. And my hope is, I'm in the Dan Reichert school. I hope it's a catastrophe. I hope this movie, in every conceivable way, is a nightmare hellscape.
Sure.
But I don't think so. I think it's just going to be fine. It'll be okay.
It's going to be super fine is where I'm at. That's the reality of like where this movie just like there's too much involvement from Nintendo. There's too much there's a huge partnership on the line between Illumination and Nintendo where like if this goes well, Illumination has huge IP to draw on for years to come. They're not going to mess that up, and they would rather put out something sort of mediocre than put out something that is a
See,
disaster and takes
we
risks.
we did a live GameSpot After Dark for the first time yesterday, and we discussed the same story. And I came up with the idea of them doing the Mario cinematic universe, and they treat Wario in the same way that they treated Thanos, where he appears at the end of every movie, just kind of like sitting there, and then eventually he's like, "Fine, I will do it myself," and then he like gets up out of it, and he gets up, and he's like, and then it cuts to later on, and he's like sitting there, and he goes, "You should have aimed for the head," and he like he clicks, and everyone's money disappears.
Oh my god!
And then that's it.
That's perfect. Yes, absolutely. I always thought like they'll do the Smash Brother invite thing, but that's way better, Tam. That's way better. Right.
That's what I want from the Mario movie.
That's what I want now as well. Perfect. All right. Let's move on. We've done Mario news. Now it's time for the Sonic news of the day. Sonic Remaster developer says he's very unhappy about the state of Sonic Origins. This is by Chris Scullion at VGC. The Sonic CD remaster was originally developed by Christian Whitehead using his retro engine, while Sonic 1 and 2 were developed by Whitehead and Headcanon Games. Headcanon then confirmed in April that it had remasters to Sonic 3 and Knuckles for the upcoming Sonic Origins. However, Sonic Origins itself was developed and compiled in-house at Sega using the remasters, and Headcanon developer Simon Thomley, aka Stealth, is not happy with the finished product. This is frustrating, Thomley said in a Twitter thread. I won't lie and say that there weren't issues in what we gave to Sega, but what is in Origins is also not what we turned in. Integration introduced some wild bugs that conventional logic would have one believe were our responsibility. A lot of them aren't. I'll say, Tim, mostly I haven't heard too many concerns about bugs. I think this, to me, this sounds like a developer who sees all of the problems and like they stand out to them so much that they can't help but notice them. But even still, I'm sure this is frustrating if you turned in one thing and then you give it to Sega and they, whatever, they don't treat it with the responsibility that you think it deserves. Yeah. That's got to be a little bit frustrating. But I haven't heard too many people being too concerned about like the performance of these games, at least as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I can understand the impulse to do this from this team, especially Christian Whitehead and the team that have worked on it, because let's be honest, Sega is not good at making Sonic games. Right. Like I'm just gonna be plain and forthright. Here's my credentials. I grew up a Sega kid. I love Sonic. I was Sonic over Mario every single time, or Mario as I used to call him. I would call him. I love that character. I love those games. I do not think Sega is capable of making a good Sonic game.
I don't think you're wrong. I'm not a Sonic fan, so it's very easy to be like, oh, whatever. But yes, I think I agree.
In that world, Christian Whitehead came and the team came along and made the best Sonic game in literally years. Like Sonic Mania is my favorite one, period. Incredible. Yes. Yeah, it's incredible. And what happened there is now you have basically the fan base. You've asserted yourself as the Sonic team. Like you are better than the Sonic team. And that gives you credibility and it gives you credentials. And I imagine Christian Whitehead's like, I'm going to protect this because I've just shown the world that and he's a Sonic fan and they're a Sonic fan. So it's like I've just shown the world that I'm capable of doing this, and the world has like replied by saying you've made the best Sonic game in a really long time, and now they're working on this new Sonic Origins thing. They go back to the roots and they do all this work to make the games awesome again and playable. They give it to Sega. Sega does their boondoggle shit, and it goes out there with Christian Whitehead and team's name on it. And now that's their reputation tarnished, because from their perspective, they probably did what they gave over was like, this is in line with what people expect from us as the people who made the Sonic Mania game. And then Sega comes along and just like Freddy Krueger glove hands it and puts it out there. And there's no context around that, right? People are just going to be like, oh, I guess that team isn't as good as making Sonic games as we thought, which isn't the case. Like it was the Sega's part. So the fact that they came out and were like, hey, we did some good shit here. We put in the work to try and make this awesome. And like this wasn't our fault. It makes perfect sense. And the frustration is warranted. And it's interesting. I feel like the fact that they have had to come out there and say this kind of jeopardizes their future in making Sonic games. But I don't know, man. Like I passed the point of being sad about Sonic, and I'm just ambivalent about it now. Where I'm like, I saw Frontiers, and I was like, I was just like, that is just absolutely pathetic. And like maybe that game will be good. Like there's parts of
Sure.
the game that looked good. There's elements of it that looked good. But the thing I was laughing at was just the utter disrespect that Sega and contempt that Sega has for Sonic.
You see
It's
that it
just
doesn't have. It's like it is
baffling.
fumbling in the dark for trying to figure out what Sonic could be,
No.
and it's like throwing the dart and it lands on open world game, and they're like, well, I guess that's what we're doing. It doesn't come from
Here's-
anywhere from some deep seated need to make a Sonic game. It's just no, we have to
Here-
make one.
Yeah, here's my thinking, okay? And this is what I would ask Sonic fans. Sonic right now, since the early days of Mega Drive Genesis, where let's say that those days where he was blast processing and doing what Nintendo don't, like that was the peak of Sonic. Since that time, never has Sonic been as popular
No.
as he is right now with 2 hit movies. Literally like Hollywood, like blockbuster movies. If Sega can't get its act together enough to put out a half decent new Sonic game of its own right now in the height of his popularity, they will never be able to do it.
Yep.
It's not happening. It's not possible. Like they do not give a shit right now. When let's look at it from a commercial and corporate perspective. Now is when you make the money, baby. Like every kid in the world is like, Sonic is awesome. Like they have to just squirt out something okay. Just okay, and you'll be fine. They can't do it. It's not possible. They can do it in terms of like comics. The comics are doing good. They can do it in terms of animated shows. Like the animated shows are decent.
They know how to make the character appealing and cool, and they have.
Well,
like,
I don't know if they know.
That's, right, the people they partner with, but like they have the Pokemon company side of things, where it's like, hey, we know how to license this thing out and put it in on products and stuff like that, and we have the older fans who are still obsessed, and then there's new generation. Like all that stuff is working for them. It's really just the games that continue.
The games that like I said, Frontier could be good. Like if they delay it and they work on it a bit more, it could be good. The problem is they are still out there showing dog shit to people and be like, and it's like, if you cared about this character, you wouldn't be showing this. Why are you doing this? Like you've just shot yourself in the foot and made the process of making this game and marketing this game harder for yourself. Why did you do that? Like there's elements of Sonic Frontiers that I genuinely think could be something. It feels like if they sit down and put it in the oven and really think about it, it could be something. But now they have to convince people, they have to undo what they've shown people before they can pitch them on, hey, this is actually a good game. Like they're perpetuating the Sonic cycle themselves.
Yes.
And it's just like, why are you like this, man? Like people really care about this character. I mean, like I've reached a point where I can't care about the character anymore because for my own mental health. But like, damn, stop.
Square Enix wants to develop story-focused NFTs. This is by Jordan Miller at VGC. According to the company's 2022 shareholders meeting report, as reported by Miyazaki, it plans to continue to integrate blockchain technology into game development. As revealed in the report, the company's medium-term goals include the development of blockchain games and entertainment products. However, when discussing how the blockchain would impact the company's biggest franchise, Square Enix president Yosuke Matsuda said, and apparently was smart enough to say this, it's still too early to consider making Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy blockchain games. Which to that I say, no shit. No shit. Like, to me, it's worrisome that even needs to be said. That you even need to say, like, it's just too early to do a Final Fantasy blockchain game.
Well, they're saying, what this Square Enix is saying is, hey, we're not 100% sure that NFTs are dead yet. We're just going, we're going to say when we're interested in making it so that the shareholders look at this and go, okay, they're on top of this NFT thing. And then when they say when it's too early for us to make any Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest things, that's them saying we're not gonna start shoving this shit into our own, like our real money makers.
I'm hopeful that's the case, but this is the company that for their basically their Christmas card wrote out to investors and to everybody, to the world, we believe in NFTs, and like the CEO like wrote that and like
Dude,
was pushing it himself.
Fucking the thing about NFTs is everyone fucking believes in them. If you have to believe in them. If you like, it's fucking snake oil. The only way you sell snake oil is by saying you believe in the snake oil.
Yes.
And that's how it works. And every company is currently do this. Unless you're a douche bro on Twitter who's actively engaged in this kind of like blockchain shit, or like I dislike NFTs in a way that I cannot, but I also recognize that they are good, like for certain people. Like artists have made a living off of them, and I respect that. I love that. Small businesses making like NFTs, good on you, whatever. I don't care. When you get corporations coming along, every corporation is saying what they're saying is they're basically towing the line, hedging their bets. They say, hey, we're gonna do this because that helps, the shareholders, and it makes it look like, they're on top of this shit, but they never commit. They just say like, oh,
right.
we're not gonna. They're just like, yeah, I care about this up until then it's clear whether it's gonna happen or not. Like right now, they're sitting on a fence with this. That's what every company is doing. They sit on the fence.
Every company was doing that. Now they've all shut the fuck up. They've all
Ubisoft hasn't mentioned it.
Yes, this is the one company that keeps bringing it up. That's why I'm worried. And then I mean, on top of that, this is a company like they have a successful game that they could be like, hey, Final Fantasy 14, we're doubling down on that. Here's some other stuff. And yet every time like there's an opportunity to bring out NFTs, they still bring it. And and the way they speak about it is they sound like they think this is what investors want to hear. And I don't even know if investors want to hear this anymore, because investors are more tuned into the fact that like crypto is crashing at the moment. And so the fact that Square Enix still keeps coming out and talking about this is very confusing to me.
It's that like the news about crypto crashing is taking very long to like actually spread to the people that
that's probably true.
Are communicating to us. Like you still get celebrities coming out and being like, hey, well, I've got an NFT, and meanwhile the NFT bros are like, someone stole all my monkeys and I can't get them back. Like there's still a disconnect between that, where it will take a little while for it to go down the various pipelines, marketing and that kind of stuff. But like, here's the thing: if Square Enix gave a shit and was actually intended to do it, they would put that shit in Final Fantasy 14 right now. Like it would be in there already, because it's their most successful game. It's their biggest money maker. If they gave a shit, if they actually wanted to make money off of this, there would be at least one NFT in Final Fantasy, the MMO, right now. There isn't. They're just sitting around until they're 100% sure that they can stop saying that we care about NFTs without facing any kind of like stock repercussions or shareholder repercussions. Because right now, no one is willing to say, actually, this shit is dead. We're fucking done with it. Everyone's just kind of being like, yeah, we're investigating, we're looking at it. And also, I think Square Enix is probably looking at others doing it and just seeing, like, Ubisoft were like, we're doing NFTs, and everyone went, what? You're doing what? And then Ubisoft not only like got immediate backlash, they just like absolutely flubbed it. And it's like, no one wants this, okay?
Tim, you've been very insightful on this topic. The only thing some people are going to hear is that those three words we said. For some people, NFTs are good. I'll say like for that, like even when some people have made money, you could tell that like they know that the stuff is going to crumble and it's going to be like this pyramid scheme. And I know you understand that, but people are going to hear that you know that.
No. I know artists that were struggling and they were like, I'm going to make a couple of these fucking NFTs and then I'm good for maybe a year.
Some people made some money that needed the money.
Honestly,
right, but
if you're doing that, and like I know artists that did that, and the important thing is they're not peddling it. They did the thing. They sold their art to some dickhead who paid a lot of money, and they were like, "I'm done. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not touching anyone else. I'm out of this." And like, fair play. If you use someone's stupidity to like make money, if you use an NFT bro stupidity to make money, get the bag. Good luck to you, man.
Exactly. Get the bag. And it's like these are people whose art has probably been repurposed and reused for free on the internet for literally decades. Finally finding someone that will give them a payday. I get what you're saying. All right. Halo Master Chief Collection cosmetic microtransactions being explored by 343. This comes from Darren Bontheus. How do I say Bontheus? Is that right?
I think it's Bontheus.
Bontheus. Okay, at GameSpot. 343 Industries has confirmed that it's exploring the idea of adding microtransactions to Halo, the Master Chief Collection. In an update on the Waypoint site, community writer Alex Wakeford explained that 343 will be renaming season points as Spartan points and is looking into adding a new form of microtransactions. Now, there's some more details here, but like the real quick points are, they are exploring this. They are going to keep all of the play to earn stuff, not that kind of play to earn, but like play to like actually unlock stuff in the game. They're just going to introduce stuff that might be able to shorten that time for people who just want to pay for things. To me, this is strange because this is the Master Chief Collection, a much older game. I don't know. What's your knee-jerk reaction to this, Tam?
My knee-jerk reaction is like, why?
Yeah.
Like what? Again, it's like taking it's taking an L for no reason. Like, why are you doing this? Like, if this had been there from the outset, you would have got backlash, right? And like Master Chief Collection, let's not forget the journey of that game. It was busted for a really long time. Like, and now it's got to a position where it kind of works. It's fine. If they had microtransactions from the outset, it would have been part of the story and people would have been okay with it. Retroactively going back and shoving in more microtransactions and extra currency into a game that didn't have it, what do you think is going to happen there? I can tell you what's going to happen. You've just created a lightning rod for people to moan about. And like, you've just created a lightning rod for bad PR. Yeah, it makes no sense
too, right? Like where people are like worried about the Halo Infinite's future. Is this like, are you doing this because that doesn't have a future and you're already going back to Master Chief Collection? And is this going to be your solution for all your problems? Is, well, we have to figure out our future. So we're adding microtransactions. Congratulations, everybody. Now, to me, the funny thing is like, too bad, but it's very easy to read into it all your anxieties that you might have as a Halo fan.
Yeah, it's like, it looks like it's going to have nothing. It's not going to really have any major impact on the game. Like, it's there as an option for people. Anyone who doesn't want it or doesn't, can just ignore it and continue to play the game. But like, again, we live in a world where you've given people a bad talking point. And like, and is that worth it considering that your other mainline Halo game isn't doing great? Like, it had a moment, but like, you dropped the ball on that. And like, you're not winning the hearts and minds of the fan base or even gamers at large. So the fact that you're adding another drop of poison to the well, like why are you doing that voluntarily? It makes no sense. It's like an unforced error. And like, it's just okay, like hopefully you make some money out of it, but I hope that risk is calculated and enough to offset the fact that people are going to have a big old moan about this, that you're going to be maybe trending on Twitter for a while and people are probably going to think lesser of the Halo property as a whole. Yeah. I don't understand. Also, like, does it make sense for that kind of game? Like, has Master Chief Collection changed in a way that I just didn't understand? I thought it was just a collection of all the Halo games.
Well, there are unlockable cosmetics and stuff like that for sure. And I think they have seasons. Clearly, they have seasons. So like, there must be stuff that you can unlock in there. I guess I don't understand either. Really,
maybe like I'm being like, oh well, back in my day. But like, remember when it got like there was a point where a game would come out and people would like release content for it, and then after a few years, when the game was like kind of not like actively in discussion and was like out of the spotlight, people would be like, hey, we're just gonna unlock all the content, right? Like you can just play everything now, like we're done with it, we're gonna move on. Sure. And to kind of like give it a good send off, everyone can have everything all the time now. If you paid for stuff, here's a couple of extra things that will remain exclusive to you, but like we're done with it and here's all the good shit. There were a few games where they did that stuff and it was like, oh, that's nice, that's cool. Yeah. And that was a nice thing to do. Now it's like, no, how can really get some blood out of the stone? And it's just like, come on.
I got some retro scene drama to report. Community developers are upset that GOG has replaced their version of Blade Runner. This is Thomas Patterson, who tweeted the following: over a number of years, I, along with friends, lovingly reverse engineered Westwood's Blade Runner for Scum VM, which is the emulator for playing old Scum games, reviving the game and helping GOG to release the game for sale once again. For this, we have asked for and received nothing but the honor of the work. Now, At Night Dive Studios has released their enhanced version. It is, by all accounts, and there's a link to a Rock, Paper, Shotgun article that details some of these bugs, it is ugly and buggy and offers no tangible benefits over Scum VM aside from very poor console support. They even forgot to credit me for the subtitles that we let them use. That's disappointing, but hardly surprising. This would all be fine, in quotes, if GOG hadn't decided to replace our version of Blade Runner with this so-called enhanced edition, now offering the Scum VM only original only as an add-on for this new enhanced edition. So sadly, it is now no longer possible to purchase and play a digital copy of Blade Runner and Scum VM without sending money to Night Dive Studio. I'm sad to see GOG.com relegate our free work to a mere attachment on somebody else's mediocre paid product. Again, this to me, this feels like a developer taking ownership of something that they saw being abandoned for a very long time, and feeling that when people now have to go, when they ask them about this game, hey, didn't you do all this? Where can I get that? You have to point to this thing that is inferior and then explain, well, you can still get it, but you have to give this other company money. It's the kind of thing that can happen when like you are working on someone else's IP, but it also just feels bad. It feels bad to me.
Yeah, again, it's the same situation as Sonic Origins and Christian Whitehead. Like a developer put their heart and soul into something and proved that they love it, and like did it for the passion of the work, and then a company came along and screwed it up and left them to kind of deal with the aftermath of it, which sucks. But yeah, I mean, like, it's just such a shame, and it's kind of surprising from Night Dive. Like, I don't know too much about Night Dive, but they seem to be not being weird about most things. They seem to be like
good.
Yeah, they seem to be like they have their heart in the right place. They want to bring back old games and like, you know, try and, you know, put them in front of new people in a way that's convenient, and maybe create some new games in beloved franchises along the way. So this feels like a fuck up where it's like, why you've done the opposite of what you're trying to be known for doing. This hurts your cause and your kind of like your credo in a big way. With any luck, they're like self-aware enough to see it and be like, oh, we should fix this. We should like sort this out and
Night Dive
reverse
has done
this.
that in the past with stuff like this, so I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
I guess full disclosure, I consider at least one person who works at Night Dive to be a friend, but still, they have a history. I don't think people can look into this themselves of when games come out and have had issues, especially like even like console versions that don't run as great. They stick with it and make it better and better. So I would at least have some hope that that's going to happen. That doesn't change the fact that this. The original version should also still be on sale from this other team that put it out already. It should just be two separate things. I get that GOG's worried about probably store confusion and things like that, but the people did this work. It has stood up to the fandom, and they've been happy with it. They should just leave it up for sale.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, go ahead. Anything else, Tam?
I was just gonna say, stop screwing things up unnecessarily. A lot of unforced errors in the industry right now. Just wild.
Yes, exactly. Let's get to the catch up. So I had a couple topics here. Let's do this one. The Snitch is teasing a God of War Ragnarok news thing coming next week. The Snitch has been a leaker who's been putting stuff out like about a week before something's going to happen. He'll drop a tease on Twitter, and then and this time it is Kratos holding an axe, and the numbers 11110 flash on the screen. People have taken that to be binary for the number 30, implying very likely, and this is in line with the rumblings I've heard, not been able to hear. I don't hear this firsthand, but things I've heard secondhand from people who seem to know that June 30th we will probably get a release date for this game. So I guess okay, that's cool. What do you expect that to be like a full first party state of play with a bunch of other announcements?
I think that if Sony was smart, I think if Sony was smart, they would do a big, like a blowout state of play just focused on God of War Ragnarok. People are excited for it. People want to know more about it. They've been very quiet about it. They've been quiet to the point where they've allowed others to kind of take over the narrative around it, which is PR-wise something that you never want to happen. Like, people are like, oh, it's delayed. Other people are like, oh, it's being changed, and people I've seen people just making things up. Like, the dev team has pivoted, and it's a completely different type of games. I've seen people be like, I've heard it's in the final stages of polish, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I work in the industry, and like, I have not heard any of this shit. Where you getting this from? It's just like random Twitter people being like
making stuff up. You're
making stuff up
multiple times with this game recently.
Yeah, and people are so desperate for any news that carries. Like,
I mean, it's the puddle news thing. It is Spider-Man puddle news. We're so anxious about this. The puddles are different. I'm gonna freak out, and then once it comes out, we never talk about these things ever again. It's gonna be the same thing for a lot of stuff with God of War here.
Exactly, and I think the way you do that is by coming out and being like, hey, we've got a 10-minute video here where we're just going to say everything that needs to be said until later.
Yes.
Where it's like, here's the release date, here's what the game is, here's a couple of new things, here's a story, here's all our special editions. We will see you on this date later. That's it.
Yep.
And then that is like anytime someone goes, I've heard that Kratos has been taking Rogaine and has a full head of hair now. It'd be like, no, if you look back here at this state of play, it's he's still bored as fuck.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, cool.
He also followed the snitch followed up that tweet with a GIF that said order. So pre-order is also likely coming.
Yeah, I mean, like also like Cory Barlog has reappeared on Twitter after a lengthy stay away, which is one I'm grateful for because I hope he's doing okay.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a good follow. He's great. And I was just like, I hope he's doing all right wherever he is. And he popped up and he's doing his teasy thing again. I'm like, great. Seems like he's doing well. So that obviously means there's activity around the God of War franchise again.
Yeah. That was similar to Josh Sawyer, who is the developer of Pentiment. When I was like, oh, I heard that game's coming later this year, but I'm like, I don't know. Then I saw Josh Sawyer posting stuff like, oh, I'm like at a bike swap thing, just drinking a beer on the weekend. I'm like, oh, he's chill. That game must be actually in a good state right now. And then, of course, we saw it at E3. So I think you're onto something where like Cory Barlog appears. He shows himself like basically playing the game on Twitter. And then he just seems to be in a good mood. So it's like obviously his executive producer role is like calmed down a little bit that he can relax on social media.
Yeah.
All right. We had a question for the day yesterday. Let me see. Let me get this over here. Should Sonic games be sad? And this had to do with the fact that Sonic Frontiers is going to be a sad world that's going to force Sonic to confront whether or not he can still be happy. The results are 48.9% said yes, 51.1% said no, and most people said they should be sad, but not on purpose. That was a big response.
So, you know what I would do with Sonic? Let me find.
Yeah.
So I would if I was in charge at Sega, I would just be like, we're gonna find the perfect person to take Sonic and make like a self-aware kind of like game that really takes into account the journey that Sonic has been through. I would find Yoko Taro and I would say, can you make Sonic sad?
Yes.
And Yoko Taro. So I did this tweet.
Sonic up, absolutely.
So I did this tweet a little while ago where I was like, oh, Sonic Frontiers, it looks like a game that like is designed to give you the same kind of existential crisis as you get when you see Nier Automata. And people are like, oh, are you saying this is like good like Nier Automata? I'm saying no. I was like, people misinterpreted it. What I was saying is the way I felt profoundly sad while playing Nier Automata is how I felt while looking at Sonic Frontiers. And I know the more I think about it, I'm like, what if we just let Yoko Taro make a Sonic game where he's like, what the fuck is my life, man?
The Sonic vehicle is spinning out of control. Just let Yoko Taro turn into the spin. Like, let's just do it. Like, let's make that happen.
So good. And like, it makes perfect sense because like you have like he'd have to like talk to like. There would be a chapter where he has to reckon with the fact that he is into a human girl or like he wants to shag a human. He would have to like really look at the darker side of himself with Shadow. Like all the pieces are in place in the Sonic universe to make an amazing Yoko Taro game. And if Sega had any fucking sense in their, even an atom of sense in their existence, they would give that franchise to Yoko Taro and just be like, just do your weird thing. We want to make people depressed with Sonic. We want to make them sad. We want to make them upset. Make your game. And then we would get a Sonic game that is like, it would probably end up looking a lot like Frontier, but it would be like very, very interesting narratively and thematically.
Absolutely. Let's do another question for Monday because it's Friday. We can wrap up the week here. I was trying to come up with a question before the show and I failed, and I came up with this one. Have you played or do you intend to play any games through the Netflix app? And I imagine this is going to have a pretty small response, so people saying yes. But I kind of just want to see if that's like a single-digit number or like a double-digit number. And let's what do you think?
I would love to play.
I'm going to play Into the Breach on there. I'm going to do that.
I'm gonna try. Honestly, like I go where the games are. Like I've played Stadia games. I've played games. I'll play games anywhere. Like if you put a game on my microwave, I'll give it a go. I played the Skyrim game on Alexa. Stop. Yeah. But yeah, I would love to check. I think like Netflix is interesting because they're making some, making plays like we said. Like I want to try Into the Breach on there. And if they come up with original games that are cool, like they bought a bunch of studios that are known for making good games. And what was it? The name of the team? Night. It's not Night Dive. I keep wanting to say Night School. Is it?
Night School. Maybe? Yes, that's right. Yes.
I think they bought them. And like chances are like Night School. They've made a bunch of good games. Is it Into the Woods?
Is it Oxenfree?
Oxenfree, yeah.
Right.
So Oxenfree, like we know they have pedigree. So once they put out their new game on Netflix, I'm definitely gonna play that 100%.
Yeah, there's like Moonlighters. Just someone at Big Evil saying Moonlighters in Netflix mobile game. Yeah, Moonlighters a pretty good game. I think it's at least cool, and it's a smart move for Netflix in terms of like there's a potential for growth there where there's not for their other stuff really. Okay, that's gonna do it for us. To see the results of that poll. Return on Monday for another morning mess here on Giant Bomb. For now, though, Tam, what's happening on Giant Bomb? We got today. We got the Unprofessional Fridays. You got anything coming up on the site next week or anything?
Next week we're going to be recording another episode of Jeff Jester's Our Adventure, the One Punch Man Gaiden, or as we call it. We're also going to be recording a very online show next week. So we're making a lot of things. And then I think there's a couple of quick looks in production currently. But it remains to be seen. As for today, obviously, given what's happening in the news, there's been some changes. Jess tweeted about this earlier, but Run for the Hills isn't happening. That game obviously is a bummer, and now's not the right time to be playing a game that's a major
Makes
bummer.
All sense. Yes.
Yes.
Barely even needs an explanation. People understand.
Yeah. Just bear with us as we make some adjustments to give people some time, give people some grace to figure things out. It is impactful news, and we'll do our best with what we can right now. As far as I know, UPF is still happening, but we'll see how it goes. Just keep an eye on
keep an eye on Giant Bob Twitter and stuff. We'll let you guys know there for sure, and keep an eye on the site. We'll remove it from upcoming if something changes there. But
for sure,
yeah. If we do that, we will be. I think Fall Guys Customs got fixed. So at the end of that stream, if you want to play along, make sure you have it installed. Make sure that you have your Epic account tied to it. I think that's a big part of crossplay. So tune in for that. We'll be looking forward to that. And then, I always end these shows by saying, have a good one and take care of yourself. But I really mean that. And the thing, I said the show's only as good as the audience watching. I really mean that. You people have been very, very kind and very gracious. And I just want to let you know, I'll repay that any way I can. When you come to this show, we're going to do our best to let you know that we are trying to create something that cares about you, the viewer, but also you, the community member, someone who shows up to giantbomb.com a lot. You all are very good at being a community, and that means so much to me. So I always want to repay it in any way I can. But thank you so much. We'll be back with another show on Monday. Until then, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.